We all love knowing which are the best open-world RPG games. After all, it is the best game genre that exists today, providing players with the best narrative, characters, and exploration possible. In this video with the 32 best open-world role-playing games, I'm going to show you several games like this, so grab a pen and paper and come with me to the first game in the video. Starfield is a massive story-driven open-world game that allows you to explore various planets and solar systems in a spaceship with your companions. The game does a decent job with the overall aesthetic of each major city and planet, and the variety of explorable locations is also fantastic. The story is good, and the game challenges you with exciting missions and heavy decisions that affect the story's trajectory. One of the best features of this game is the sheer number of items you can acquire, from weapons and armor to ships and outpost materials. Because journeying around a massive world on your own is just no fun at all, Dragon Age Inquisition gives you a bunch of companions to run around with and a ton of side quests to use them in. You wouldn't want to waste their talents, after all. Not only that, but the companions are some of the best party members around. I'm looking at you, Dorian Pavis. At first, it's easy to get overwhelmed with the number of side quests that saturate its lush fantasy world, but as long as you remember to take advantage of the fact that, like many of the best open-world games out there, there are multiple areas to explore from the very beginning, don't just stick to one, you'll slowly be able to gauge which ones are worth doing ASAP. The story will also keep you gripped throughout, so while it might claim many hours of your life, it's worth the time investment. CD Projekt Red's Cyberpunk 2077 had a notoriously rough launch, to the point that the game was removed from the PlayStation Store. This reception hurt the developer's reputation at the time, but CD Projekt Red has done an admirable job of rehabilitating its name. Rather than just abandoning the sci-fi game, the company set out to right most of the launch version's wrongs, including releasing multiple significant updates. Nowadays, Cyberpunk 2077 is in a much better state, even if the last-gen versions are still difficult to recommend. Focusing solely on the open world, Night City is phenomenal, detailed, and dense. The map showcases CD Projekt Red's talent for environmental storytelling and world building, and Night City's sci-fi aesthetic sets it apart from The Witcher 3's world. While still not perfect, Cyberpunk 2077 has come a long way since 2020 and now deserves to be mentioned among the best open-world games. Putting Palworld on this RPG list will seem very cliché, and that's because it is. This is absolutely the kind of RPG you're thinking of, just with some very dark twists. The title is indeed a monster catcher title where you'll travel around and get pals for your personal collection. Like many RPGs, you'll train them and raise them so they can get stronger. You can even breed or fuse these pals to make even better creatures. Then, what you decide to do with them is up to you. You can treat them like family, or create an army, or maybe you'll want to outfit them with guns. Or, you can eat them. Fallout 3 was entertaining enough, but Fallout New Vegas is unforgettable. This is the story of the courier, who almost dies after the all-important package he was transporting gets stolen outside of post-apocalyptic Sin City. Yet the main tale isn't as fascinating as everything that surrounds it, whether it's the many factions the courier builds reputations with, the many choices regarding how to handle volatile situations, or even the sense of humor sprinkled into its several staggering hours of content. It was even fun in action, as it allowed for special attacks through the series' VATS combat system and new animations for melee kills. Guerrilla Games left behind the FPS genre for open-world action RPGs, and the Switch brought out the best in the studio. Set in a post-apocalyptic Earth that is both ancient and technologically advanced, the Horizon games center around Aloy, an outcast who has to carry a massive load on her shoulders. Horizon Zero Dawn and Horizon Forbidden West are equally fantastic, and that is especially the case when it comes to their worlds. These games feature stunning environments filled with monstrous creatures and impressive social hubs. Dragon's Dogma is sometimes best thought of as what might happen if Capcom took the giant creatures from Monster Hunter and placed them in a large medieval fantasy RPG. What makes that already appealing experience really work are the ways that this game gives you free rein to tackle combat pretty much however they see fit. Sure, you can rely on the same kinds of abilities and attacks found in other hack-and-slash titles, but Dragon's Dogma also lets you do things like grapple smaller creatures and climb over bigger monsters to hit different weak spots. Exploration in this game certainly isn't limited to discovering new locations. Many of the systems created for Dragon's Dogma, such as the player-built pawn allies that others can recruit, have yet to properly appear in other games. While it's a little sad that Dragon's Dogma's best ideas haven't found their way to more titles, the lack of suitable copycats ensures that Dragon's Dogma remains unique and special. From the 9th to the 19th century now, as we go from running around Baghdad to pottering around the corridors of pop culture's most famous school of witchcraft and wizardry. Coming in at third is Hogwarts Legacy. Our review said, "The world itself is just packed with nearly everything I wanted in a Potter game and more." You'll find yourself exploring Hogwarts' stone-cobbled halls and secret passageways, flying around the Forbidden Forest on a broomstick, and exploring dark caves lit only by the glow of your Lumos spell. The developers at Avalanche have so brilliantly captured the look and feel of the wizarding world that I was amazed at just being there, no matter what trivial errand they had me wrapped up in. Developed by 38 Studios, Kingdoms of Amalur: Reckoning is a 2012 action RPG. It was recently remastered for current-gen consoles, with the new release titled Kingdoms of Amalur: Re-Reckoning. An expansion also launched in 2021 called Fates Warn prior to the game's 10th year anniversary. This hack-and-slash title features 5 distinct regions, 4 playable races, and 3 class trees with 22 abilities per tree. The game is set in the Feylands, home to the immortal Fae of the Summer and Winter Courts, where players can travel throughout the open world, fighting a collection of unique and fantastical enemies. It's safe to say Peter Molyneux's games often fail to live up to the hype he sparks for them. Thankfully, that wasn't the case with Fable 2, a delightful action RPG that offers players a bit of nearly everything. The game weaves an epic story that spans your character's life from childhood on. Combat feels like a fluid dance, thanks to the melee, magic, and ranged attacks you can string together with ease. To top it off, the whole thing is rife with humor and charm. So whether you want to amass a real estate empire or simply woo a spouse, you can. And let's not forget the real star of the show, your lovable canine companion. At first, Nier Automata starts like any other open-world adventure that lets players wander different biomes, fight enemies, and accept side quests. However, as the game progresses, the story delves into surprising, introspective twists that are guaranteed to surprise you. Nier Automata also utilizes a complex combat system that is rarely seen outside of more linear action titles that can better account for the possibilities such a system may result in. Not everything is as it seems in Nier Automata, and each subsequent New Game Plus run reveals just a little more about the story's many secrets and themes. This is quite simply one of the best examples of a developer using the open-world genre to tell a story as complex and diverse as the world itself. The Xenoblade Chronicles franchise consists of nothing but great open-world games, including the Wii U's Xenoblade Chronicles X. Any entry could have made the cut, but the 2022 project gets the nod since its transitions between different areas are the most seamless. The JRPG is built upon a real-time combat system that is overflowing with mechanics and depth, ensuring battles remain engaging throughout the lengthy campaign. Xenoblade Chronicles 3's world is massive, detailed, and packed with things to uncover and do. The Nintendo Switch does struggle to run the game at times, but XC3 nevertheless accomplishes a lot on the console's limited hardware. While people weren't exactly upset by the prospect of an open-world Lord of the Rings game, it's fair to say that expectations for Shadow of Mordor were modest. Of course, that was before we knew the extent of the game's brilliant Nemesis system. We'll soon discuss other open-world games that benefit from making you feel that something dangerous could be around any corner, but few other open-world games tie that feeling into their narrative quite like Shadow of Mordor does. Yes, the game's use of deep-cut LOTR lore is impressive, but it's really the stories that you make as you establish and end rivalries that you'll remember long after the credits roll. It also doesn't hurt that those rivalry-driven combat sequences are bolstered by a brilliantly utilized Arkham-like fighting system. Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora is a visually pleasing game set in the incredible world of the Avatar movies. This game allows you to play as a Nausicaa person, separate from the events centered around Jake Sully and his family in the movies. The game is filled with breathtaking scenes and visuals and is littered with fantastic plants and wildlife. It captures the world of Pandora and allows you to explore and experience it in a brilliant open-world setting. The story isn't incredible, and the game is ultimately carried by how gorgeous it looks. However, that's not always bad, especially for a game that wants you to explore its world. Monster Hunter World was met with skepticism when it was first announced, as it heavily diverted from the Monster Hunter formula that made the series one of the biggest in Japan. However, the title turned out to be a massive success for Capcom. Not only has World made the series a huge success in the West, it caught on in Japan as well, influencing the series going forward. Monster Hunter World is definitely the best way to get into this incredibly successful series. We'd recommend playing with some close friends. This isn't an easy game. Looter shooters can be surprisingly difficult to get right, but Borderlands 2 downright perfected the formula. The game offers a sprawling, cel-shaded world packed with glorious loot. Every nook and cranny hides a new mission, boss, or something entirely unexpected like a talking shotgun. Discovering those things is always fun, but the game is truly brought to life by its cast of memorable characters who have birthed iconic memes and phrases. Even when the loop of shooting various bad guys for fun and profit grows stale, the game makes it easy to team up with friends for extra challenges and rewards. Borderlands 2 set the standard that all future looter shooters would be judged by and happened to deliver one of the absolute funniest video game scripts ever written in the process. This MMO action RPG borrows a lot from Genshin Impact, so if you love that game, you'll probably love this one too. It's one of those scenarios where the formula was so good that it only made sense for another developer to take another crack at it, and that's not to say is completely derivative either. Its setting and storyline are both very different from Genshin, with more of a sci-fi focus, rather than being purely fantasy-based. Of course, like Genshin, Tower of Fantasy also features a giant open world. You can find barren deserts, tropical beaches, open fields, bustling futuristic cities, and so much more. It's not one of those open worlds that's empty either. There's plenty to do, from resource gathering to fighting monsters, and much more, made all the more enjoyable by the fact that you can do it all with your friends. We even have Tower of Fantasy codes for some in-game freebies. The Fallout games are the retro sci-fi cousins of the Elder Scrolls series, and anyone who likes those kinds of games will love Fallout 4. The game is set in the year 2287, hundreds of years after a nuclear war practically destroyed the planet. As a vault dweller, the protagonist survived the war by gaining access to a nuclear bunker at the last minute. Cryogenically frozen, the protagonist wakes up hundreds of years later to find that his son has been kidnapped and the vault abandoned. Diablo 4 is an open-world multiplayer game you can play across all gaming platforms. The game has excellent combat and graphics and an extensive list of customization options to choose from. What's most interesting about this game is the cross-play feature. This feature allows you to play with your friends, even if they have the game on a different platform. Ultimately, this is an enjoyable open-world multiplayer experience you can enjoy with friends. Capcom released Monster Hunter Rise in 2021 on the Nintendo Switch, with the PC version launching in 2022. The sixth mainline installment in the Monster Hunter series, it follows many of the conventions established in World. The game also introduced many new features, including an animal companion called a Palamute that players can use to travel across the map. Monster Hunter Rise has shipped over 8 million copies worldwide, making it the second most successful game in the series. When it initially launched in 2004, Blizzard's World of Warcraft rapidly became the most popular and beloved MMORPG ever made, thanks to its accessibility, exceptionally high degree of polish, and its sheer size and scope. Even if WoW never evolved past this vanilla state, it would still be remembered fondly as an incredible RPG filled with epic dungeons, surprisingly compelling player-versus-player encounters, satisfying non-combat crafting and social gameplay, and more well-written, handcrafted quests and adventures than it felt possible for a single RPG to contain. But what elevates World of Warcraft above great and into greatest of all-time discussions is the care and attention Blizzard has poured into the game in the 13 years since. The game has never stood still. Completely new worlds, revamped old worlds, balanced and well-integrated new classes, risky storytelling, and an almost impossible-to-count volume of quality-of-life improvements have made an already amazing game experience even more amazing, more than a decade later. Developed by the company that brought gamers Elden Ring, Bloodborne follows a hunter making its way through the decrepit Gothic city of Yharnam. The locals are afflicted with a bloodborne disease, and players must unravel the mystery of where the plague started, all while fighting various beasts and cosmic beings. Bloodborne focuses on strategic weapons-based combat and exploration, and fans of a challenge won't want to pass this one up. Sea of Thieves offers you an open-world playground, which is just waiting for you to create your own stories within it. Become a legendary pirate, build your crew, discover treasures, and more. This is a game that's come a long way since it first launched in 2018, with ongoing updates and additions coming along all the time. It's also got a stellar community, which only aids to the pirate fantasy. Baldur's Gate 3 is the best game that 2023 has to offer. The game takes you to a stunning world, where you must thwart an evil plot to enslave the world as you know it. This game seems to have infinite customization options and paths to experience the story. The voice performances from each of the characters are brilliant, and there are very few flaws that you can pick out from the game. Most impressively, the world is vast and open to exploration in any order you wish to tackle it, and there's so much to discover that you can replay the game several times and never get bored. What if you took Breath of the Wild and added JRPG elements and a little sprinkling of anime? Well, welcome to Genshin Impact. The world of Teyvat is full of mysteries, not only about who you are and why you're there, and with constant updates and more characters being added at regular intervals, there are so many reasons to dive in. Oh, and did we mention it's totally free? Moving on to the current day in the modern metropolis of New York City, home to everyone's favorite web-slinger, Spider-Man, Insomniac's sequel webbed 11.9% of our vote, making it the runner-up this year. It's another cinematic PlayStation Studios adventure, and Marvel's Spider-Man 2 fully takes advantage of its open-world setting by staging exciting standout missions that take you across its city, navigating through towering sandstorm boss battles and thrilling chases. Offering a superb sense of spectacle and scale in its mission design, there's arguably still no better way to get around an open world than swinging around as Peter Parker or Miles Morales, and with the introduction of the sleek new web wings this time, it only got more satisfying. Although it didn't revolutionize the open-world formula, Spider-Man 2 delivered consistent fun in its side activities with some of the more involved quest lines, such as the mysterious The Flame missions and neighborhood characters in need of assistance, providing memorable highlights, while the blockbuster moments and surprises are reserved for its main story. A plentiful stream of collectibles, combat challenges, and traversal trials help deliver a fantastic open-world superhero fantasy. Geralt isn't perfect. His surroundings aren't perfect either. War ravages most of the countryside, with bloodthirsty creatures who don't even stick to the shadows anymore preying on innocent civilians, while others try to keep their identity secret in the human-dominated landscape. Yet that's what makes The Witcher 3 the best open-world game to play right now. Because everything is broken in its own special way, there's always something plastered on peeling notice boards for Geralt to do, for gold, of course. Stick to the dirt country roads and help villagers with the monsters baying at the door while they look at you and your yellow eyes with suspicion, negotiate with a well-meaning poltergeist in the middle of a city, or just uncover all those mysterious question marks dotted over the map. The Witcher 3's imperfect world makes for a perfect game, meaning it's set an incredibly high bar for the future of open-world games. At a time when developers were simply dipping their toes into the waters of the open-world concept as we know it today, the team behind The Elder Scrolls 3, Morrowind, took a different approach. They decided to make an open-world game that seemingly featured everything that they've ever wanted to do with their already epic RPGs. As a result, Morrowind can often be confusing, complicated, and remarkably user-unfriendly. Yet, many of the qualities that you could use to criticize Morrowind could just as easily be used to explain why it's such an important and incredible open-world experience. It's an open-world RPG where you truly get to feel like you're gradually growing your character and making a name for yourself in its beautiful, dangerous, and wonderfully weird world. Mods and fan updates can improve some of this game's technical shortcomings, but there is no replacement for the ways that Morrowind makes you feel like you've truly been transported to a distant land where the only victories you'll find are those that you make for yourself. There are few games as expansive or rich in story as The Elder Scrolls V, Skyrim. As the Dragonborn, one can gallivant about the most northern province of Tamriel and slay dragons before consuming their souls. A gross oversimplification for this incredible game, though one that sums up just how awesome one's time in Skyrim can be. A variety of character creation options, settings to explore, and sometimes hilarious sights to behold and exploit make this Nordic adventure one every appreciator of open-world games should play at least once in their life. All of the recent Assassin's Creed titles have been excellent open-world games, but Assassin's Creed Valhalla is definitely one to check out, particularly because it's already one of the best Xbox Series X games and best PS5 games. Building on the improvements made with Assassin's Creed Origins and Assassin's Creed Odyssey, both of which are very worth your time, Valhalla takes you to the Dark Ages, traveling across England as Viking Eivor to find a new home for your clan. Build your settlement, meet new friends, forge new allyships, dabble in politics, and do a heck of a lot of exploring to find the secrets and treasures lurking in Old England. Elden Ring is a masterclass evolution of the Souls-like genre of hardcore action RPG games and is considered one of the best PC games ever. A large part of Elden Ring's success can be attributed to the new open world, which gives the player the freedom to explore and tackle quests, bosses, and dungeons in whatever order they please. The critically acclaimed ARPG also thankfully manages to avoid existing genre tropes. This is no Assassin's Creed or Witcher, and offers its own unique fusion of challenging gameplay and freeform game design. Read our Elden Ring review to see what we thought of this open-world game. This is a must for Dark Souls fans, but even those new to the genre will find this a more welcoming entry point. If you're looking for some tips to give you a leg up, we've got guides to all the Elden Ring bosses, how multiplayer works, and even the Ashes of War locations. Although you may be surprised to find a samurai game full of swords, blood, and violence in a list of the best open-world games to play right now, hold back your shocked faces. Away from the sword clashing, Sucker Punch's Ghost of Tsushima is surprisingly zen. Craft haikus whilst you marvel on a peaceful lake, contemplate the death of your father in a hot spring, follow a fox through the wilderness to a hidden shrine, or just go and see what that smoke in the sky is all about. A minimalist UI, waypoints pointed out by fluttering yellow birds and the wind makes for one of the most interesting, natural open-world experiences to date. Of course, helps that the combat and story are really great too. Not one to miss out on. So, did you like the games I recommended? So leave your like, subscribe to the channel to follow me and activate the bell because I post a lot of videos on this channel and you can't miss it. I would like to remind you that in the description we have a list of different products that can make your gaming experience much better. If you want to buy, the link will be in the description. Anyway, thank you very much for following me this far and until next time, bye.